The Minnesota Disability Law Center handles a pretty wide range of cases for people with all kinds of disabilities. And in our case selection, we look at cases really that would promote certain values such as community integration, which sounds like jargon, but it really is a shorthand for people with disabilities being able to be fully part of the mainstream community as opposed to living separately in institutions or only with other people with disabilities, which historically was pretty common. People also need to be able to have choice in their lives and self-direction in their lives, not have other people without disabilities always telling them what to do. And part of also what's really important is to help people get what supports or assistance they need to carry out those general other directions that we look at in terms of what kind of advocacy to do. We do a big range of things for people with developmental and intellectual disabilities, and we have clients of every age. We do a lot of special education advocacy for children in schools who have disabilities, including developmental and intellectual. We are very focused on trying to eliminate the use of restraint and seclusion in the school systems. And we work on a lot of individual cases, we work on policy issues, and at the legislative advocacy, all with the end of trying to get rid of what we think are very dangerous and outmoded methods of working with students who have disabilities and may have some challenging behaviors in the school setting. Generally, trying to advocate for people who are being subjected to abuse or neglect is a very high priority for the Minnesota Disability Law Center, and that it can take place in any setting. I've mentioned schools, also in institutional settings like state hospitals or even group homes, day programs, wherever it could occur. We would actually investigate and try and take appropriate corrective action, whether that be reporting to licensing or bringing some kind of a legal action or advocating for the person to be placed in some other setting that's safer. We also do an awful lot of work on civil rights generally, such as voting rights, rights to fair housing, rights for people to participate in various kinds of community programs, or also we work on the people's rights to have employment in a more integrated setting at a fair wage. And we do that by advocating with the vocational rehab system, but also in other areas too, including sheltered workshops or segregated work settings. That's a big priority for us, is trying to assist people who want to work more in the community at least minimum wage, that we are working hard to try and increase their opportunities to do that. We are very involved in making sure that people get the Medicaid-related community-based services they need, which with budget cuts in the last few years has been a very challenging situation for our clients. And we are involved a lot on individual case level, but also we do a lot of policy and task force work on some issues that are fairly arcane, like rate setting for different kinds of services, but they're very, very important to our clients and to maintaining their ability to live in settings that are, or live where they want, not in an institution, and with the support services and medical services that they need. So it's a complex web of issues that we work on. I would say also one really wonderful thing about the Minnesota Disability Law Center is that because we're a statewide division of a large legal aid office that itself is then linked to all the other legal aid offices in the state, where a client comes in or calls, we have a unified intake system. So a client or a client's family member doesn't have to figure out exactly if it's a case that Disability Law Center would take, or a legal aid office, or if so, which one. If they call our intake workers, they will help them figure that out. And if it's a case that doesn't fall within what the Disability Law Center's funding or priorities allow us to do, for example, a family law case, a custody issue, the intake staff will help them sort out where to go, make the appropriate referral. If it's within Mid-Minnesota Legal Aid, the referral will be directly, it's not a referral, they'll just do an intake for that part of the office. So there are a lot of efficiencies for people in that regard. And we do have very strong ties with other disability groups that are not law offices. The Governor's Council on Developmental Disabilities is one of them. The Ombudsman's Office for Developmental Disabilities and Mental Health is another. Pacer Center. There are, that's just to name a very few. The ARC Minnesota and ARC Greater Twin Cities. What distinguishes the Disability Law Center from the other disability advocacy groups in the state is that we are a law office. Also, we are statewide, and we represent people with all kinds of disabilities as opposed to being a disability-specific or subject area-specific type of advocacy group.